podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Okay. Making the list, checking it twice. That sounds familiar.
What you doing?
Oh, jeez. Get out of here. I'm making my list.
Ooh, my Christmas presents?
No, of our year-end special 2010s series.
Oh, that's more important.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Slightly.
for right now, I have your presents ordered. From PNRNetworks at eCinemaOne.com. This is Subject Cinema's The Best of the 2010s. Welcome to this special edition of Subject Cinema, The Best of the 2010s. I'm Casey Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
For the next 3 special shows over this weekend and next weekend, you're going to hear us talk about nothing but our top 30 films of the 2010s.
Yep.
Both narrative and documentary.
Yep.
What we intended to do, we were going to do a daily show, excuse me, and that kind of gotten thrown by the wayside because there were just too many good movies and we wanted to talk more about them. So we decided to dump the daily show, do a 3-part special, and on each of these shows, we're going to reveal 10 of our favorite documentaries and 10 of our favorite narratives in order.
Yep.
That we saw in the 2010s. The 2010s constitutes the decade from January 1st, 2010 to December 31st, 2019. And we'll upfront you, we haven't seen anything that's come out since November 1st.
Nope.
So you won't see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, you won't see Bombshell, you won't see any of these other good movies coming out on this list. This list is through the end of October.
Yeah.
So, and it was interesting trying to go through it. And when you think about the fact, here's the interesting thing. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen a lot of film. We've seen close to 500 films this decade.
Wow.
And that's just current films. That's not closing in on older films.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen well over that many older films
too.
And of those films, that doesn't even scratch the surface. The average release in the U.S. for films every year since 2010, the average number has been 1,014 films.
Each year?
Each year.
Holy cow.
There was a low of 992 and a high of 1,420. So, and these are...
And that's just United States
These are all the films that are officially released. These are not even concluding film festivals.
Or foreign films.
No, that doesn't include foreign films.
Okay.
This includes movies that were released to theaters for at least 1 week, to online streaming with large fanfare, or on their own website with large fanfare.
That is a lot.
We have actually, on this list, this is what we qualified it for. The movies had to be out in a theater for a week. Mm-hmm. They could be online streaming or DVD, direct-to-DVD, if they had a high-profile film festival release, and any film that's well-known because of their online presence.
Yep. That
may not have gotten a huge release, but got noticed enough to be a part of people thinking about it.
Yes.
How are you making your list? We're calling this our favorite best because these are our favorites, and oh my God, it was so hard to narrow these down. But I also am going by quality as well, going with my gut and thinking what I think are important films to me personally, what films touched me personally, and what films, all types of cinema, Mr. Scorsese, I enjoyed over the last 10 years.
Yep.
So it's going to be an interesting list.
My criteria for both of these lists, the documentary and the narrative, it's actually pretty much the same. They're movies that have stuck with me. They're movies that, for whatever reason, with a documentary. Now, the thing about a documentary for me, the thing that makes a documentary for me is, did I come out of that documentary knowing something that I didn't know going into the documentary? That's what makes a documentary special to me. If I can walk out of a documentary going, wow, I never knew that about this, that, or the other thing. Even if it's something that it's like, well, I am now so depressed, I want to eat an entire box of cookies and drink an entire bottle of vodka. Mm-hmm. You know, I learned something. And don't,
I've learned something today.
And don't do that, kids. Drinking like that is bad. But it is. But when it came to narratives, it's just whether something, reached into my heart for whatever reason, something that thrilled me or chilled me or made me laugh or made me cry or made me happy to be a movie fan again. And yes, there's going to be superheroes on my list. Suck it, all you theater cinema snobs.
Interestingly enough, when it comes to my narrative list, yeah, I don't have a single superhero list on my top 30.
No, not my fault.
Not that I didn't enjoy them,
no.
But they're not what I defined important, quality, fun film.
Well, that's fine.
I love them all. We should also stress, if we haven't stressed already, films that were released to film festivals in the 2010s that did not get a theatrical release are not included. Mm-hmm. This wiped out a lot of our favorites from the Salem Film Festival and a few of them from the IFFB. Mm-hmm. But in all fairness, those films are not available. If they were released online, then we considered them. If they were released on demand, we considered them. But if they did not receive any kind of release that we were aware of, that I was able to find, they are not counted. All right, so who wants to start? We're going to kick off. We're going to do 5 and 5. 5 documentaries, 5 narratives, 5 documentaries, and 5 narratives on each show. So,
well, I think we should do it in the rational, mature, adult way. Rock, paper, scissors.
1, 2, 3,
shoot.
You go first.
Paper covers rock. I win.
Which I knew, because that's what she always does.
I do not. I usually pick scissors. Supernatural fans get it. Okay, so my number 30 on my documentary list is on my list because this brings back memories of a very happy part of my life. A part of my life that I really enjoyed quite a lot. My number 30 is Life on the V, the story of V66. V66 was a video music channel that we got here in the Massachusetts area after MTV exploded all over the TVs. You know, people started doing their own versions of MTV, their own homegrown MTV, and V66 was ours. And Life on the V, the story of V66, was something that we caught at a film festival, and it was so much fun. I literally felt the years just kind of falling back and remembering watching those videos. I remember calling into V66 to request videos. And
no doubt by hair metal bands.
Usually.
Yeah.
Woman needs, don't judge.
Yeah.
But it made me happy. It brought me back to a point in my life where I mean, yes, I was using that part of, like using videos and things to mask the pain I was feeling a lot of the times with my parents' marriage dying and everything else. But it just brought me back to a time when hair was high and pants were tight and leather and, it was fun. It was just fun because you had a video channel that actually played music videos. What a concept. My number 30 for a documentary is Life on the V, the story of V66.
Life on the V did not get a wide release, but it does have an online presence up here, and it is on still on a roadshow tour. They still take it to festivals and different movie theaters all the time. So it was eligible. My number 30 is a film Kim was kind of unnerved with. I don't think it made her list, but it was a very interesting film to me because I was fascinated by the concept when I first heard of it a few years earlier. And now, with the movie, I was like, wow, this is really something. And it really fascinated me. My number 30 documentary of the 2010s is Resurrect Dead, The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles.
I thought about that, but I still came out of that movie going, what did we just watch?
The Toynbee tiles are linoleum tiles of unknown origin found embedded in asphalt on streets in 24 major cities, including one right here in Boston for a while. They have been put out since the 1980s, and they usually have some. They're about the size of a license plate, and they look like they're cut out with an X-Acto knife that usually say something. According to Wikipedia, it's a variation on the following inscription: Toynbee idea in Kubrick's 2001 Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter. And most of them have been in the Philadelphia area, and they were very intensely looking for this, and they think they actually found previous research, different researchers found somebody, but of course they wouldn't admit to doing it on camera, and are not sure about it. It's a fascinating film if you like things about weird pop culture, of which these are, and if you want to look it up on the internet, you can look up Toynbee tiles, and you can find all kinds of stuff about what's going on with them and what they are and how they operated. But the movie was fascinating. Number 30, Resurrect Dead, The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles.
Okay, and we're going on with our next documentary. So number 29 on my list, I know will make you very happy that it's on my list.
Okay.
It will. I think it will. I know it's probably on your list and probably higher. My number 29, Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American Drive-In. Going Attractions was a really, really terrific film looking at the drive-in. Now, I realize some people just went, what's that? And that's really sad. I mean, I can be honest and say I've been to a grand total of one drive-in movie my entire life, but I know a lot of other people our age, and maybe a little older and some a little younger, not much, that have positive memories of the drive-in. And this film went back and looked at, how drive-ins started, how they became a real big business for a long time in America, and how they slacked off and, kind of became a dinosaur, but how they've actually started to come back from little homegrown kind of, I don't know how else to word it, pop-up drive-ins, And I think that's fascinating and amazing and beautiful and obviously a true labor of love, and which is also what you can definitely say about this film. So my number 29, Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American Drive-In.
That's a good choice.
Thank you.
My number 29, I have to admit, even being a music fan, I had not heard of this gentleman until we saw the film. And since then, I have become an enormous fan of the stuff that he did, both before and after he was struck with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. Number 29, Jason Becker, not dead yet. The true story of Jason Becker, who at the age of 22 was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. I know I just butchered that. Or ALS. We just recently had a local hero, Pete Frates, pass away this week. He was the inspiration for the Ice Bucket Challenge, which is designed to fight ALS. Jason is still going strong, and still writing music, still performing music using computer systems that can read his eye movements. And it is absolutely fascinating what he can do. I'm just amazed by this guy, who you would have been head over heels in love with if you had the chance, because he was good-looking, long hair, guitarist, everything you love.
It really ticked off all the boxes of what I was looking for and had no chance of getting, in the 90s.
He also has his parents here and his brother talking about what's going on. Also, his friends in the business, which include Marty Friedman, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and a whole bunch of other people. He got his big break as the lead guitarist at the age of 19 for the David Lee Roth Band, and moved on from a few for there. until he was diagnosed, and he deteriorated rapidly after his diagnosis. It's a really amazing story. It's funny as hell, and it is so uplifting and heartwarming. You'll bawl. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Number 29 from 2012, I believe. Yes, Jason Becker, Not Dead Yet.
Okay. Number 28 on my film is by a director we were lucky enough to actually see live at one of his other films. Number 28, I should say, on my list is from 2011. It's a film called The City Dark. Directed by Ian Chaney. Keep an eye out for that name. You're going to hear it again. The City Dark looks at the phenomenon of light pollution. Now, if you are a person that grew up in the 70s, like me and him, that's when people started finally noticing, oh, hey, we really should stop using the planet as a garbage can. So there was a lot of stuff about light pollution. There's a lot of stuff about just regular old pollution and noise pollution and air pollution and this, that, and the other thing. I had never heard of light pollution. Mm-hmm. And when I saw...
we've both seen it before.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't realize
We didn't realize it. When I saw this film, I went, oh, that's what that feeling was. Just a little side story. We had gone to New York a few years before we saw The City Dark.
2008, yeah.
Yeah. We went to New York to see Daniel Radcliffe in Equus.
Woohoo!
Which was awesome.
Awesome performance, yeah.
Hi, Daniel. And so after the show, we're outside. It's midnight in Times Square, and it is bright as daytime. And half of my brain is going, this is so cool, and half of my brain is going, this is really wrong.
Yeah.
And that's that feeling. The fact that light pollution, humans have used so much light and make so light where it's really kind of not necessary. This film looks at the impact that has on nature, on the human body, because it throws your system all off, and the fact that people in New York, in like the big, industrial areas and all, they can't see stars. And it made me realize, like, wow, how many stars do I see? And this film is really, you have to search it out because it makes you think. I mean, super duper hard. And then it might make you a little depressed too. My number 28, The City Dark.
That's a good choice. Ian Chaney is a wonderful director. The City Dark is available on Amazon Prime. If you've not seen it, watch it. It is a terrific film. My number 28 is a film that we both really enjoyed when we saw it at the IFFB, and it had a national release almost 2 years later. It took a while to actually grab it to the theaters. And unfortunately, we have since lost this wonderful gentleman. But he was quite the character who was best known as the food writer for the Los Angeles area in Los Angeles Weekly. He did articles for Gourmet and a number of other things. His name was Jonathan Gold, and his film about him was called City of Gold. This was a fascinating film, which took us through some of the areas of Los Angeles I never knew existed.
Me neither.
And into some restaurants that had stuff that I really don't want to see ever again. But as a foodie, Kim and I are both foodies. We love most food documentaries.
Kim would like to kind of add an addendum onto that. Kim is a comfort foodie. Kim likes comfort food.
That's you enjoyed King George's.
Well, I did. I do. Yeah. Well, I enjoy. Yeah. We both enjoy really good food, but I'd rather not enjoy food that I know went through like certain things like duck presses and things like that. Right. I can't deal. Sorry.
Or Ants on a Shrimp.
Yeah. Oh,
which that movie was terrible.
First movie I've ever walked out of, and it was in our own house.
Yeah. She was not happy. It's a great overall portrait of Jonathan, his wife and kids, his love for food. We lost Jonathan last year, I believe, or it might have been 2017, to cancer. He was only in his early 60s. He was a wonderful writer and an amazing, ebullient man with some terrific ideas on why people think about food the way they do.
Yep.
Number 28, City of Gold from 2016.
Number 27 on my list is a film that we saw at the Boston Underground Film Festival.
Oh, God.
Which, if you ever get a chance, if you ever get a chance to go to the Boston Underground Film Festival, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it,
They
do
have
it.
some absolutely nutty stuff.
They do.
The last couple of years we've had to miss because it's been running into the Salem Film Festival at the same time. So
And Easter.
And
Guys,
Easter,
stop doing it around Easter. It really...
they're edgy.
I know.
I mean, they're sponsored by a business called the Whore Church.
Well,
for
you know,
Pete's
you can
sake.
be Catholic and edgy, too. It does happen, and some of the Catholics get annoyed. Anyway, my number 27 is a film directed by Mark Hartley with a title that could only come out of someplace like the Boston Film Festival and only dealing with this kind of film. Machete Maidens Unleashed! Exclamation point.
It was one of the first. We saw that the first year we went when it was still at the Kendall Square. Yeah.
Machete Maidens Unleashed is looking at it's a documentary from Australia actually, and it is looking at the exploitation film genre, which is a genre of film that TC and I are both enchanted and horrified by. Being real honest there.
Yeah, we are.
But it looks specifically at the films that were made in the Philippines during the 1970s and the 1980s. Now, the reason a lot of films of this type were made there was because it was inexpensive and because...
You could have the army for extras because Marcos lent them to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's really helpful when you've got the actual army of the place where you're shooting your movie going, you want tanks? Sure. You want guns? No problem. You want soldiers? Go ahead. You know, I mean, you just can't picture George Lucas walking up to some 5-star general and go, hi, can we borrow about 5 or 6 stealth bombers, you know, and having them go, sure, where do you want them? You know, that's not happening. But in the Philippines, they were much more accommodating and also much more fast and loose with things like workplace safety, you know, when it came to these films, as in there wasn't any, or very little. It's a really entertaining film with lots of interviews from a lot of people that you recognize if you watch these kind of films, which we do, and you do too, don't deny it. People like Pam Grier, the late Sid Haig, Colleen Camp, Dick Miller, lots of people that you've definitely, you know, can go, hey, I know that person. It's fun. It definitely doesn't take itself seriously because goodness knows the movies didn't. My number 27, Machete Maidens Unleashed! Exclamation point.
That's a great choice, and that was one of the ones that wasn't in general release, but it had a large road show around the country and why we made it eligible.
Yep.
Terrific film. My number 27 is a man who truly enjoyed films for his entire life, and he made it his life's work. And the documentary that was released about 2 years after his passing was one that was just brilliant. It was one of the first films I ever kickstarted, and it was really a terrific film about a terrific person who a lot of times I didn't agree with, but whose opinion I always respected and still do. Number 27 on my documentary list, 2014's Life Itself, a movie from Steve James about the late, great, almighty Roger Ebert. This film looked at Roger's beginnings. It also got into the period where he was working with Russ Meyer on Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It talked extensively with his beautiful wife, Chaz, who now runs RogerEbert.com. And it is just an amazing film, and it has so many of his friends and you know, directors and fellow critics talking about what they loved and about the man they loved. It's a shame that the revival of At the Movies that they produced during Roger's illness didn't last only 1 year, because they couldn't afford to do it anymore. But this movie will give you an insight on Roger, the way he thought, his love-hate relationship with his longtime partner, Gene Siskel, his devastation of not being told that Gene was so ill he was going to die, and also other people that were in and out of his life. It's a brilliant film from director James and deserves to be a classic documentary about film. Life Itself, number 27 on my list.
Okay. Number 26 on my list was very, 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 very much a film. When I heard about it, I was like, I have to see this because it's going to be amazing. Because this deals with something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's something that, it's one of my jobs that if somebody waved a magic wand and said, Kim, we're going to make you what you want to be most in the world as a job. I would wish to be a voice actor. My number 26 of documentaries that I've loved this past decade, from 2013, I Know That Voice. This is a film that looks at the whole career, and it is a career, of voice acting. And voice acting is exceedingly difficult, but it's also fun as hell. You know, the thing is, when you have someone that is a voice actor, you have, you know, you don't have the ability, you don't have what other actors have. You don't have an audience to feed off of. Mm-hmm. You don't have costumes and props and things. I mean, you might have
unless you wear them yourself.
You might have a prop or two in the recording booth with you just to psych you up or whatever.
Right.
But you don't have all of the things that make a movie. But you have to make a movie with just your voice. And that can be tough, but it's also fun as hell. And I Know That Voice looks at all kinds of people who do voice acting, including people like Mark Hamill, Charlie Adler, Lorraine Newman, Nika Futterman, June Foray, one of the most
queen of the voiceover artists.
Yeah, definitely one of the most recognized people I think that ever did voice work. Kevin Conroy, who will always, always, and forever be the Batman of my dreams, because whenever I dream of Batman, and I do, and you do too, don't deny it, he always speaks in Kevin Conroy's voice. I know that voice is just one of these great films where you get to see the people behind some of your favorite cartoons. And I just was sitting there watching this going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I just loved this film. It had me like feeling like a child again, just being so excited and exuberant about that job. And if anybody out there in the Boston area needs somebody that does voice actor work, I'm exceedingly cheap. So my number 26, I Know That Voice.
That's another one that got extensive online coverage and also on demand, and it was a terrific movie.
Yeah.
Wonderful, a lot of fun.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. I will work wicked cheap.
My number 26, this film had me hooked from the second I read about it in the Sundance Film Festival listing in 2015. It ended up becoming so interesting to me that we put the people on it on the Rising Stars list, and we also did we saw the film. I have a book about them. It was a fascinating story. It's the true story of seven kids, 6 brothers and a sister, who were raised for many, many years locked in their father and mother's apartment in New York City. The film is called The Wolf Pack, and it features the Angulo family, particularly the 7 sons, Bhagavan, Narayana, Govinda, Mukunda, Krishna, and Jagadesh, along with their sister Vishnu and their parents. And they learned about the world through watching movies. Mm-hmm. They made their own homemade 20-minute versions of some of the biggest movies of all time. We get to see their versions of Reservoir Dogs, Batman Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, yeah.
And they do all of it with homemade props, homemade costumes, because they never got to leave their house. Their father was that crazy. Their mother homeschooled them. Their father was overprotective and felt that New York was bad for the family. Mm-hmm. Crystal Moselle, the director and writer, worked her way into their lives when she ran into them one day when they had snuck out, and which they did frequently as they got older, and ended up telling their story to where she won a number of prizes at Sundance. She was rewarded with one of the biggest openings of the year, and it is one of the most fascinating films. You may see the 2 youngest brothers, who now go by Glenn and Eddie, no longer using their given names. They are currently pursuing musical careers, complete with mullets and earrings, because they're fascinated with 80s music, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. I think I'm not sure, I've got to check. I think it's Govinda that is involved with the film industry on the backside. He was the one that did all the filming in the apartment. Mm-hmm. He's now a screenwriter, and he's into production and all. amazing story, and if you've never seen it, you should grab the film. There's a book out about them also, and with some incredible artwork and photographs, and I mean, it's just terrific. Number 26 on my favorite documentaries of the 2010s, The Wolfpack from 2015. When we come back, numbers 30 through 26 of our narrative films.
When Subject Cinema returns.
Good times and great movies. Subject Cinema.
eCinemaOne is your choice for great info and commentary about the world of film and entertainment. Daily trailer postings, the latest news and film reviews, commentary about the state of the industry, the weekly Subject Cinema and 3-Minute Weekend podcast, and so much more you won't believe it. New material is being posted daily, so join us each day and see what you're missing out on. Once you visit, you will always be back for more. eCinemaOne from PNRNetworks, eCinemaOne.com.
We probably can't cover the thousands of films made every year, but it's sure a lot of fun to try. Subject Cinema.
It's Subject Cinema's best of the 2010s, and we're so happy you're here joining us for these countdowns. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham, and over the next 3 specials, we're going to bring you our top 30 films each, narrative and documentary of the 2010s. It was not an easy task to narrow this down. In fact, it was freaking murder, and I just was pulling my hair out. We got our first 5 of the documentaries, and now let's swing into the narratives, and our numbers 30 through 26. What do you want to do?
Well, I started, so you should do this one.
Okay.
That's fair.
I'll kick things off with my number 30. My number 30 narrative is a film that won a number of poppies and rosies from me, and it was a terrific film. Again, the first notice of it came from the 2012 Sundance Film Festival, and excuse me, had no idea what to expect from it, but the word of mouth was incredible, and what scenes I'd seen were incredible, and we both fell head over heels in love with it when we saw it. It was just so creative and so well done, and the lead actress had never acted before, and she was terrific. All of 5, I believe, when they actually shot the film. My number 30 from 2012, Ben Zetlin's masterpiece, Beasts of the Southern Wild. This film was amazing. I think she was 5 when they filmed it, and 7 or 8. She was 9 by the time she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. She's the youngest actress ever nominated in that category.
Yeah.
Theo should have been the second on the male, but we're not going to talk about that. This movie is a fantasy allegory for Hurricane Katrina. That's the idea. If you've never seen it, it is something you are missing, because it is, some people are not going to like it. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but the cinematography is mind-blowing. It was shot on locations in the New Orleans area, and it's just freaking me out how well it was done, and what a great actress Cavagine has become in the years since. She made our Rising Stars list. She has gone on to a bigger and better career, and terrific even today, continuing to work. Her father was played by Dwight Henry in this. It's a terrific film. Does not have any faces that you would recognize, but it really is quite a little story of Hush Puppy, that's her name, and her surroundings and her little fantasy world and what happens around her.
Yep.
It's breathtaking and mesmerizing, and is definitely worthy of this list at number 30, Beasts of the Southern Wild.
Okay. Number 30 on my list of narratives is a film that up till this point, everyone had talked about the lead of this film. He'd been an actor for quite a while, and I never really got it when it came to him. I never really got what people saw in this guy. And then 2010's The Town came out. And I finally got what everybody was talking about when it came to Ben Affleck. The Town, which is based on a novel called Prince of Thieves by Chuck Hogan, is dealing with a group of young men that their job is they rob banks. And there's no other way to put it. I mean, Bonnie and Clyde did it.
And Bonnie and Clyde, too.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde did it first, but, you know.
Well, Bonnie and Clyde did Carrots.
Well,
first,
yeah, that's true.
If you don't remember what that is, look it up, kids.
Directed by Ben Affleck and also starring Ben Affleck, Rebecca Hall, John Hamm, and a blistering performance from Jeremy Renner, who was absolutely terrifying in this film.
That film turned Jeremy Renner into one of my favorite actors on the planet.
The thing that makes him so frightening, that makes him so frightening is that I know guys like this. You know, I knew guys like this growing up, and it's such a powerful film, and it's also really cool that, and this is just a complete me thing, and I admit it, that there are so many scenes in this film where I'm going, I know where that is, I know where that is, I know where that is, and that's cool.
Shot in the Boston. Well, it's actually shot in Charlestown mostly.
Yeah, shot in Charlestown, shot in the North End,
and around Fenway,
and around Fenway Park, and it's really interesting because The thing that's so funny is how this film flips the script in the fact that Doug and his buddies, they're the bad guys.
Yeah, and yet you end up sympathizing for them.
It's not even so much that you sympathize with it. The thing is, they are the bad guys. You wind up sympathizing with Doug.
Yeah.
Most of his other friends are scumbags.
Yeah.
But the thing that I find so interesting is in a film where you've got the good guys and the bad guys, the good guys, the FBI guys, the G-men, the people that would have been the heroes back in the 1940s or whatever.
He's such a dick in this movie.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to punch John Hamm's character right in the friggin' smug face. No offense, Mr. Hamm. I'm sure you're a lovely guy. But his character was such a smug beep.
Yeah.
And it's a really terrific film. If you've never seen The Town, definitely check it out. Really great. My number 30, The Town.
Yeah. My number 29, thanks to the film Cloverfield in 2008, the 2010s were rife with found footage and cinema verite films.
For good or for ill.
Yeah. Some of them were great, some of them were good, and some of them were just terrible. Two of them have made my decade ends list, and the first one is at number 29. It is the film which launched the superstar careers of two of the three young actors. The other one is still working, but he hasn't found a big role to break him loose yet. And it's just a story of three friends from Seattle who suddenly find themselves in possession of superpowers they don't understand, and the consequences it has when one of those friends starts to take it a little too seriously.
Yeah.
It was the debut film for director Josh Trank. It is a marvelous film from 2012 called Chronicle. The film is brilliantly filmed. It is one of the few found footage films that is really riveting from beginning to end. And it made superstars out of Dane DeHaan and Michael B. Jordan. Both of them have become major stars. Jordan especially has taken off.
Dane's a very well-respected character actor now, but please, Dane, seriously, rescue a puppy.
Well, he did. Valerian was a good guy.
Well,
Yeah. Well, he was.
He was.
And it was hard for us to sympathize with his character, though, as it went on and further. We kind of did, but then we understood his descent, and that was kind of what made this film work so well.
Definitely.
Alex Russell's the other star, and Josh Trank has gotten so much crap from what happened with Fantastic Four that he didn't deserve, because this film is brilliant, and if you've not seen it, please watch it. Number 29 from 2012, Chronicle.
Chronicle shows what Josh Trank can do when the studios don't stick their little grubby mitts into a movie, so watch that instead of Fantastic Four. My number 29 was a film that when we saw it in the theater, I think we saw this as part of the Independent Film Festival. I'm not. No, that's not right. We saw it at the Brattle, so it couldn't be the.
Might have been. What is it? I'll tell you.
This film came out in its native country in 2010. It came out in America in 2011. Through this entire film, I'm sorry, language coming up, I was sitting there watching this film with this phrase going through my head this entire film. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit! My number 29, 13 Assassins from Takahashi Miike. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was Independent Film Festival.
It was independent. Okay. Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Why did you say it was animated?
I didn't say animated.
Oh, what did you say? I was distracted.
No, I said independent.
Independent. I'm sorry. Okay.
No. I just couldn't remember if it was the Independent Festival or one of the other ones.
No, it was Independent Film Festival of Boston.
Takahashi Miike, the Japanese auteur who is famous for grossing the hell out of audiences with intense, read that as horrifying, films like Audition and of some of his other works. I mean, he's an amazing person, but you need an iron constitution to watch some of his films. Mm-hmm. His take on the samurai film with 13 Assassins is one of the most mesmerizing, spellbinding, what the hell am I watching films I have ever seen in my life. Looking at a group of samurai who are determined to kill a sadistic lord before he kills pretty much every subject that he has, because he's basically your definition of an homicidal maniac. The film is gorgeously shot. I can't bring up everybody in the cast as much as I'd love to, but the one person I'm definitely bringing up was Yusuke Isaya as the character of Kiga Koyata, who is channeling Toshihiro Mifune in The Seven Samurai with a little bit more of a supernatural twist. I won't give anything away. Mm-hmm. But, oh my gosh, when this movie gets going, and really gets going, it shifts into drive and never looks back.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Oh my freaking frog. My number 29, 13 Assassins. If you have not seen this movie yet, shame on you. Go find it now.
It was on my short list, but I couldn't bring myself to put it on the top 30 because the first 40 minutes are so dull I almost fell asleep. I just can't get past it. Once the action starts, it's nonstop, and it's even got cows on fire. It's really something. But I know you loved it. I loved it too, but the first 40 minutes are just like...
It takes a while to get going, but
it takes too long to get
I don't
going.
agree with that. There's enough of the story to get it going. And once it hits the top of that hill and starts going downward, it's like a roller coaster out of hell. It's just up, down, upside down, sideways, off in the distance. It's nuts.
Right.
Find it.
Yeah. My number 28 is the first of 4 animated films on my top 30. Mm-hmm. And they're not the ones you might think. I love animated films. They can be really well done. They can be goofy. We saw some crazy stuff during the 2000s.
Yes.
That were too early. Like, various Pixar things. There was also Sita Sings the Blues, mm-hmm. and a few other ones that are really off the wall.
Yeah. Because we'd also like to bring up, just because something says animated does not mean for children.
No, this one was, though. Ugh. This was for families, and it was terrific. And sometimes people slam on Disney for being a little pushy with their woke stuff and trying to get people involved.
Yeah, how dare they be
other
inclusive.
Cultures and stuff. But you know something? Walt's been doing that since the very beginning. Walt did it way back in the 40s with those wonderful travelogue films he did. And Pixar picked up that mantle and ran with it in 2017. It remains my second favorite Pixar film behind WALL-E, which came out in 2009 and isn't eligible. 2008? Maybe it was out in 2008 because that wasn't eligible either. But I loved this film. The music was fantastic. The voice work was awesome. The storyline, which brings Americans and those who are not into the Mexican Festival of the Dead, helps people understand the way they think about it. And it never fails to make me bawl at the end. My number 28 film for the decade is 2017's Coco. Mm-hmm. What a wonderful film.
Oh, I know.
I mean, just terrific. With outstanding voice work from Anthony Gonzalez, Gail Garcia Bernal, Benjamin Bratt, Alana Ubach, Renee Victor, Anna Ophelia Murgula, and Edward James Olmos, telling the story of Miguel, a 12-year-old from a family who makes shoes, who has been forbidden to make music or even listen to music because his abuela, right, grandmother,
yeah,
her father left on the family, and it's been passed down generation to generation.
Yep.
It is utterly beautiful, and the end, we were sitting there in puddles.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful, and I love it. And
if the end of that movie doesn't make you cry, I don't want to know you, because there's something wrong with you.
We weren't the only ones. We could hear the other people in the audience, and it was a sold-out show, sniffling at the end. It's a reason why it won an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Number 28, Pixar's wonderful Coco from 2017.
Number 28 on...
back into my... out of my choked up mode here.
Number 28 on my list was a film that I was severely looking forward to. I was like, this is going to be amazing, this is going to be amazing, this is going to be amazing, and I was not disappointed. My number 28, Kong Skull Island. Part of the... As we find out, Kong Skull Island is part of the legendary universe, which began with Godzilla, has continued with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and between those, we got Kong Skull Island, which came out in 2017, and is going to lead into, later on, Kong versus Godzilla.
Next fall, next November,
Oh God. Anyway,
you're terrible.
I know. I can't help it. I have, no, I'm not going to say I have needs, because even I will admit that's a little bit weird.
Yes, it's a bit weird.
No, we're not going there. Kong Skull Island is set, it is actually a period piece. It is set towards the end of the Vietnam War, with a group of soldiers who are supposed to be going home, but wind up on a side trip that, oh God, none of them wanted to go on. As it turns out, they wind up at the aforementioned Skull Island and meet the aforementioned king. And he earned that title. This is a terrific film with Tom Hiddleston, whom I just adore, and I will watch do anything.
He's great in everything he does, practically.
Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Toby Kebbell, Shea Wiggum, although it'll take you a minute to recognize him.
He usually is hard to recognize. He morphs from character to character, but he's one of the best character actors in Hollywood.
That's like one of our games. It's like our Where's Waldo, Where's Shea? And also Thomas Mann, who we also love, and I actually lost a bet.
We had a bet she lost about Thomas's character in the movie. We're not going to go into it, but it's like,
Thomas, if you're out there, write us and we'll tell you about the bet. Special effects were amazing. The first time we see Kong, it's one of those moments where you're just like, your jaw just literally falls open. It is a gorgeously shot film, just freaking amazing. Your old-fashioned Monster Mash kind of a film, and it definitely whets your appetite for what's to come, and it's just really... I'm ripping off another film here, but hail to the king, baby. My number 28, Kong Skull Island.
My number 27 for the 2010s is one of the older films. It's way back in 2010, and we found it quite by accident. I happened to check out the trailer on demand one day, and then I saw an article about it in Film Comment, and I said, we should go when it comes, because it sounds really interesting. And we looked at it, and we actually went into town to see it, because it's one of those little indie films that doesn't show up everywhere. And I have to say, we were rewarded with one of the best crime dramas ever presented on film. And it deserved all the critical praise it got. It deserved the Oscar nomination for Jackie Weaver, and it became possibly the biggest Australian import in American history. Number 27, 2010's incredible Animal Kingdom. It has been turned into a TV series on TNT with an American cast now. not quite the same.
Set in America.
It's gotten quite good reviews, but
Yeah.
believe me, it pales in comparison to the original film.
Yeah.
The film follows Jay, or Joshua, played by newcomer at the time, James Frechville, as he moves in with the rest of his, with his grandmother and the rest of his mother's brothers when his mother dies of a heroin overdose. Unfortunately, they're one of the biggest crime families in Australia, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. This movie introduced us to Ben Mendelsohn, who is just one of my all-time favorite actors. Everything the man does is brilliant.
Yeah.
Joel Edgerton, who we had not seen before and who has also become a major star. And Jackie Weaver, who was just unknown outside. She was known for comedies in Australia until she started doing some heavier stuff a couple years before this, and now she's a worldwide superstar.
As well, she deserves to be, yeah.
Also, James Frechville, Sullivan Stapleton, and the always reliable Guy Pearce. And amazing. If you like the show but haven't seen the movie, check out the movie, but be warned, you may not be able to go back to the show.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect warning.
Number 27, Australia's phenomenally good 2010 crime drama, Animal Kingdom.
Okay, that's a terrific choice. Number 27 on my list is actually another crime drama that I don't entirely know why we went to see it. I don't know what... I think maybe it was because of one person in the cast.
Well, let's see. Let's see if we can
my number 27 is 2012's The Place Beyond the Pines, which was a criminally underseen film.
It didn't do what it should have. And we saw it because it was a Sundance hit and because we had freebies.
Yes.
And we knew the director was going to be there. We did not know that
one of the stars was going to be there.
Cooper was going to show up. He was in town filming American Hustle.
Yeah.
So we stopped in.
And that was nuts. Yeah. It was crazy. Especially since that was before he became the voice of Rocket for Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's just kind of weird. The Place Beyond the Pines looks at the nature of crime, the nature of family. It looks at the idea of what fathers and sons go through. And there's an old saying, the sins of the fathers will be visited upon the sons. And whether or not you buy that or not, this film might make you change your mind about it if you're in the negative, looking at the long stretching hand of fate in regards to what happens with a young man who turns to crime to try and support the child that he wound up fathering with a young woman, and the police officer that winds up in a standoff with him and his life later on. The cast is simply to die for.
Yeah.
The cast includes, as we've mentioned, Bradley Cooper, who was nice as pie.
He was very friendly in person.
When we saw him in person, he was just the sweetest. Cast also includes Ryan Gosling, Eva Mendes, Henry Cohen, Dane DeHaan, there's that name again.
Yep.
Ray Liotta, Ben Mendelsohn, there's that name again. Yep. It is just this incredible film. And also, I should bring up Mahershala. I'm going to mess. I do this every time. Okay. Mahershala Ali. Did I say Mahershala Ali? I'm so sorry.
I finally got it after 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you had to practice and practice.
I did.
Yes, he's in this as well. Directed by Derek Cianfrance. I think I said that right. The Place Beyond the Pines was just this incredible film that you sat there watching it going, this is something really special. Definitely, if you've never seen it, check it out. My number 27 of all the films we've seen of this decade that I would watch again right now if it was on TV, The Place Beyond the Pines.
Yeah, it was unexpectedly good. And we actually got to see it for free. We got a freebie. Yeah. So it was very cool. My number 26 is a movie that probably most people haven't heard of, but we pushed it like hell when it came out because it was a good movie. And it was fun and silly. We saw it twice at the theater, and I've seen it 2 or 3 times since the DVD came out. And it has one of our favorite young actors in it. It introduced us to another young actress who has just exploded in the last few years. And it's so little seen that it's worth seeking out. It's a simple, horny teenager coming-of-age comedy that that tickles your funny bone and grabs you at your heartstrings. It's the film from a director who we happened to meet, Jeffrey Fine, 2010, is that right? 2010's far underseen comedy, Cherry, starring Kyle Gallner and introducing us to Britt Robertson, along with Issei Morales, Stephanie Vendetto, Laura Allen, and Zosia Mamet. Aaron is a 17-year-old sent to college by his overbearing mother because he's he's in freshman and he isn't really ready for it. He ends up falling in with an older student he runs into, who has a teenage daughter who ends up with a crush on him. It's touching. It's thrilling. Kyle is a far underrated young actor. He's gotten more attention since doing some great TV work in the last decade, particularly a show for WGN America. What show was that?
Outcast?
It wasn't Outcast.
I think that's
Outlaws, Outcast, something like that.
Yeah.
He's terrific, and the movie is funny and well worth seeing if you get a chance. Rent the DVD or check it out online somewhere because it's just a little quirky little comedy that will put a smile on your face. Number 26 on my list of the 2000 favorites, 2010's Cherry.
Okay. Number 26 on my list of narratives is a film that, I have to be honest, I was walking into this film going, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm actually at this movie. And somewhere right now, my mom is doing something and is now looking up and going, she's doing something I disapprove of. I know she is. This was the first time me, shy little Catholic girl from the suburbs, had seen an NC-17 movie in the theater. My number 6, Killer Joe. Wow. Killer Joe.
And yet, she's seen it at least 20 times since then on cable.
Oh, yeah.
She never stops watching this film.
Killer Joe, which is, now you've all heard of a car crash movie.
Oh, yes.
A car crash movie, now you may not use this term, but it's one of mine, and you feel free to use it. A car crash movie is where you watch a movie where the events of the movie, the events going on in the movie, are so terrible, upsetting, discomforting, or just plain what the beep, that if you were actually in a room with this stuff happening, you'd look away.
Oh, God, you'd have to.
But you can't look away. Killer Joe, based on a play of the same name by Tracy Letts, who must be dynamite at parties. No, they really probably are very funny. It is a very, 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 tack about 20 more varies on there, dark comedy, like inside...
That's what Tracy specializes in.
Yeah.
He also wrote August Osage County.
Yeah, like inside of a coal miner's glove dark.
Go ahead.
It is the story of, the film is from 2011. It is a story of a family that is trying to get their hands on some insurance money and aren't really particular about how it gets done, including murder. The person who they're hiring as a hitman is a police officer, which I'm sure the fine police officers in Texas were just over the moon about when this came out, played by the intensely mesmerizing and extremely terrifying in this film, Matthew McConaughey. This film has another one of these amazing casts. Besides Matthew McConaughey, it's got Emile Hirsch, Juno Temple, Gina Gershon, Thomas Hayden Church. This film is filthy. This film is upsetting. This film is hilarious in ways that makes you ashamed you laugh at it. And it also has an ending that if this film almost actually sort of maybe kind of had the opportunity to possibly turn me into a vegan for about 2 seconds. Because
that wouldn't have lasted after the pumpkin pie came.
Nope. Trust me, this film put you off chicken for like a week, and that's saying something. My number 26, Killer Joe. Wow.
I have to be honest, Killer Joe just missed my top 30.
Really?
I love this film. And I mean, I think it's like number 34 or something like that. the cast was what drew me in. And we never were really big fans of Matthew McConaughey until we saw this film. And we have
Didn't we see Mud first?
Mud was 2 years later.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think. They were around the same time. We might have seen Mud first. I don't remember, but we really kind of blew off his fluffy stuff and his all right crap from way back. And
that's actually him. I mean, that's really.
I know. But he's gained a lot of respect from us since then.
Yeah, because we were like, oh my gosh, this guy can actually act.
And people who don't give Emile Hirsch a chance, there's a lot of people who can't stand him.
I'm sorry, Mud came out in 2012. I'm sorry, you were right. Mm-hmm.
And it was, so did Killer Joe, didn't it? 2011. Oh, okay. Well, I think Killer Joe was actually on screen in 2012, but I might be wrong. Because it was up for, it was 2012, I'm pretty sure. The power that Emile has as an actor, as a character actor, doesn't get noticed enough until you see the indie stuff he's done.
Yep.
Killer Joe, Prince Avalanche, which is brilliant. If you've never seen it, it also just missed my top 30. And a number of other roles. People know him best from Lords of Dogtown and Speed Racer. And as much as I love him in both those films, a lot of people thought he was wooden in Speed Racer, which I thought was the way the character's supposed to be, so it works for me. Anyway, I wish more people would have seen Killer Joe. And it's on cable in a truncated version. The R-rated version is on cable. They had to edit several things out, but definitely worth checking out. We'll be back with our 25 through 21 documentaries
when Subject Cinema returns.
J.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
The best movies. Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema's Best of the 2010s, Part 1 of a special 3-part special, counting up our top 30 films in the narrative and documentary categories of the past 10 years. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
It has been a labor of love for us to see all the films we've seen.
Yep.
And we've loved being part of what you listen to. We hope you continue to listen to us every week as we get back into our regular stuff at the end of the year with our year end for this year. But for right now, we're looking back over the past 10 years, and I don't think our list is going to match a lot of critics' lists. We haven't seen a lot of that stuff.
Probably not.
Not without trying in most cases. Some of them will. So, back to documentaries, and your number 25.
Okay. Number 25 is on my list because, for one thing, it was the first time, I'm pretty sure, this was the first time I'd ever been to the place where we saw this film. And we've been back since, and it's a great place to see a film. My number 25 is Rocks in My Pockets, from 2014. We saw that at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. You'd been there already to see Tom at the Farm. Yeah. I couldn't make it because I had recently hurt my leg.
She had hurt her leg. Yeah, she hurt her knee a couple of weeks before.
Yep. Rocks in My Pockets is a film looking at Signe Baumann, who was at the actual showing of the film. She is the person that directed it, produced it, wrote it, stars in it. So she pretty much...
Queen of the world.
Yep, pretty much does everything. It is looking back at her family and all of the things and all the ordeals that the women in her family went on because of... Started looking back in the 20s with her family member, Anna, and all of the things that she went through with the Depression, with depression, the Great Depression, with World War II, with the occupation by their country by the Soviet Union, and then all the other things that they had been through, and also her life living in Russia, and finding out that her grandmother possibly had taken her own life, and finding out that this streak of self-destructive behavior especially seems to run through the women in her family. This film, does an amazing job with animation and narrative, and it's exceedingly upsetting. There are some parts...
She was not happy when we came out of this film.
No. There are some parts of this film that are definite trigger warnings for people who have self-harm issues or issues with animal death and things like that. And I'm being perfectly honest and don't want to, warn you guys up front. Mm-hmm. It is definitely a powerful film, though. So my number 25 rocks in my pockets.
Okay, wow, I feel like totally a goofball now.
Why?
Because mine at number 25 is so goofy.
Well, that's okay. The next one on my list is definitely one of those head-tilting movies.
My number 25 is a movie from 2018 that just left us with our jaws on the floor. It's a short movie. It lasts only 67 minutes. But it is jaw-dropping and absolutely hysterical. It is made up completely of footage from Russian dash cams. Mm-hmm. The film is called The Road Movie, and I don't know how to describe this film. It is real life, cinema verite style, edited together to get the best effect, and I swear, we were both completely jaw-dropped at, like, the one driving through the forest fire. There were others that had us laughing hysterically at what they were doing. Of course, it's subtitled. Most all of the dialogue is in Russian. And I was like, are you kidding? Now, it isn't everybody's cup of tea. Our buddy Anthony Lamberti did not care for it when he saw it. I gave him the DVD, and he was just not impressed. But it's something that if you like off-the-wall stuff, mm-hmm. And some people do, this is definitely up your alley. I mean, there are some things. It's kind of funny to watch a line of cars in a line to get in a car wash and, somewhere in Russia, and all of a sudden a Russian tank drives up and cuts into line in front of them. It's an honest-to-goodness 2-story high tank.
Yep.
At a car wash. Mm-hmm. We were freaking dying. This movie is hilariously funny. As I said, there's this one, it actually concludes the film where this couple is driving through a forest fire. There is fire on both sides of their car. Mm-hmm. The poor woman is hysterical. And yet it's funny at the same time.
It's funny in kind of I can't believe we're laughing at this one.
Yeah. Oscilloscope Pictures released it. It is absolutely one of those films that you have to see to understand and believe. Number 25 on my list for the 2010 documentaries. 2018's The Road Movie.
Okay. Number 24 on my list of documentaries is a really strange film about a truly unique performer. My number 24 is a film called Orion, the Man Who Would Be King. Now, this is going to sound a little weird for people who are...
Get out your notebooks. You're going to need it to follow this.
Who are younger. In 1977, one of the greatest entertainers of all time, and I will fight you on that, Elvis Presley died from complications from drugs.
He had a heart attack.
Which was brought on by obesity and drugs.
Yeah, it was.
Elvis's death put a lot of people in a tailspin, and apparently sent a lot of people on a river cruise straight up the river of denial, which is not in Egypt. A man showed up after Elvis died, not immediately after Elvis died, but after Elvis died, wearing a mask, calling himself Orion, and he sang something like Elvis. Similar. Not exactly, but enough.
That's
enough that some people were convinced that this really was Elvis. That Elvis faked his death for whatever reason. No. Their theory is that Elvis faked his death because the pressures of fame were just too much for him, but singing was so embedded in his soul that he couldn't stay away from the siren call of the stage. So he got back up and performed under a spangly Lone Ranger mask. Needless to say, to shatter anybody's delusions, I'm sorry, this was not Elvis. This was a man named James Hugh Bell, who also went by Jimmy Hodge Ellis. And he was a singer. Mm-hmm. And he was a not bad singer. But he actually found some fame doing this. And this film, I would like to say that unfortunately he's no longer with us. He was killed in a robbery at a store that he owned. A man came in, held up the store, killed him and another person that worked there, and almost killed another person that worked there. And that's obviously very sad for their families. Orion, the Man Who Would Be King, looks at this whole incredibly weird situation, but not in a mocking way. Which could have happened. Someone could have taken this whole bizarre story and looked at it like, oh, look at all these rubes. You know?
Yeah.
But they don't. I think it's done very sensitively. This film is from 2015, I believe.
Yes, because that was the first film I saw after recuperating from my bout with pneumonia. So, we saw it in early 2016. So, yeah.
Done by Jeannie Finlay. And it's really very it's interesting to me watching these people who were fans of Orion, who you can really tell they're not just saying this stuff to get on camera. Mm-hmm. They really, honest to blog, believe that was Elvis.
Yeah.
Because they loved Elvis so much, they couldn't bear the idea that he was well and truly gone.
Yeah.
It's mesmerizing to watch. It really is. Mm-hmm. My number 24, Orion, the Man Who Would Be King.
That's a good movie. This is not on my list, but I definitely enjoyed the movie. My number 24 is a movie that is so repugnant.
Okay.
The story of what goes on and how it happened is so repugnant. You want to see justice happen. And at the end of the movie, you kind of do. It's a little bit of a weird twist. Again, came to our attention thanks to the Sundance Film Festival, where it won a ton of awards and eventually became one of the biggest grossing films, documentary films of 2012. It was just an amazing, actually 2013 is when it came out in theaters. Amazing film, directed by Joshua Oppenheimer, who has become a really well-known director of documentaries now, and executive produced by a lineup that includes Werner Herzog and Errol Morris, among others. 2013's The Act of Killing. We saw this at the Kendall Square Cinema, and it's about the crazy stuff that happened in Indonesia when the killings in 1965, 1966 took place. And we're seeing a lot of people, these were government-ordered, basically, killings.
State-ordered executions.
And we're seeing a lot of the men who took care of these killings today. It's fascinating and repellent at the same time.
Infuriating.
Yeah,
that's a word I would use.
And yet there is a scene at the end that makes you feel like, you deserve this. I did not see the sequel, The Luck of Silence, which is different footage from the same batch that Oppenheimer took. I will have to sit down and watch this. He interviews these men who enjoy participating in reenactments of what they did. They're very proud of what they did until they start thinking about it. And then it gets very warped. You have to see this film if you've not seen it. Please get it on demand or somewhere because it's worth seeing. It is so powerful and ripping. It will be one of those things you never forget. Number 24 on my list, The Act of Killing from 2013.
Okay. Number 23 was one of the films that we saw at the Salem Film Festival, which is one of our favorite film festivals, because we get to see, it's an all-documentary film festival, besides the fact that we get to hang out in Salem, Massachusetts.
Yes,
which is
we can stay in Salem for 5 days. It's always fun to stay in Salem.
Which is one of the most awesome towns in Massachusetts.
One of the most awesome towns in the country.
Yep.
Forget
My number
Massachusetts.
23 is Mermaids. Mermaids is looking at people who practice being a mermaid. Now, I know some people just went, what?
No, they don't practice being mermaids. They are mermaids.
Well, they practice the art of mermaidism.
Mermaiding. They practice the art of mermaiding.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Well, some of them, it is their job.
Yeah, it is.
We see people
Most of them, actually.
Yeah, well, we see a lot of young women that work at an attraction in Florida that's been there since the 50s or before that.
Before that, yeah.
Where they have these young women in mermaid costumes that perform underwater for very large, very appreciative groups of people. Because
mostly men.
Well, it is mostly men, but little kids are all. Well, the little kids are spellbound because you have a whole.
Mostly men. Looking at the women and their bodacious tatas.
No, well, yeah, but you notice a lot of those women aren't that top heavy. You can't really be that top heavy and do this.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's fair enough.
But that's only part of it. There are other people that practice mermaidism that they cosplay.
That sounds so icky.
It does.
Mermaiding is much better.
We're gonna call it cosplaying. We'll go with that. Cosplaying as mermaids. Now, mermaids, the figure of the mermaid, a half woman, half fish. There are mermen too. Is a figure that has been in every culture. Everywhere there are people that live close to the water, there have been a form of mermaids, whether they're called mermaids or what. There's this idea of a human-fish hybrid. Sometimes they're beautiful and seductive, and sometimes they want to eat people. But, it's...
Depends on which movie you're watching or which mythos you're listening to.
Yeah, your mileage may vary. Mermaids looks at people who have... It's really interesting because a lot of the people in mermaids are people that aren't comfortable in their own skin and have found comfort wearing fish scales.
Yeah.
And you know what? More power to them. They're not hurting anybody.
Nope.
They're expressing themselves. They've found a way to feel, and they've found people that they feel like they belong with. And, like I said a second ago, more power to them. It's funny. It's a sweet film. It's got some really, really touching moments. And you've never lived till you've seen a mermaid wedding.
And it was something special,
It was very beautiful. It was very, very nice. My number 23, Mermaids.
Mermaids is one of those films that got a limited release and then it did a roadshow tour, but it was definitely worthy of being on the list. My number 23, I have a feeling, is a movie that's probably higher on your list because I know you love this movie. I adored this film because I'm a music fan, and I love practically everything music. You guys know I have my own musical site. I've talked about different types of music. When this came out in 2014, it was released in a very small release by Oscilloscope Laboratories, and then it went into immediate DVD and on-demand release. And it's still out there, and you can find. I think it's on Amazon. You can also visit their Oscilloscope site and stream it there. It's the story of people who collect oddball Christmas music. Kim referenced it in her Ring Around the Rosie this past week, and I was like, yeah, I knew she was going to bring that up, although not there. That kind of floored me. The movie is Jingle Bell Rocks, and it is a dynamite portrait of people and the weird sounds we sometimes hear at the holidays. This is the film that showed us the gut-wrenchingly scary the Christmas that the little boy that Santa forgot.
The little boy that Santa Claus forgot, a song
from Nat King Cole.
From Nat King Cole, and it's exactly what it says on the tin. Do not play this song for your children.
And the dynamite sound of the free design, Close Your Mouth, It's Christmas, which they have a huge cult following online. I don't understand why. That song is fascinating because it's very, it's the kind of up with people pop you got in the late 60s and early 70s. And it's fascinating. Plus all kinds of other strange and wonderfully weird tunes. If you've never seen it, it is on Amazon Prime, and you should watch it because you will sit there with a great big grin on your face for 90 minutes because there's so much in this film, and there's so much stuff you haven't heard, and there's probably a few things you have heard, and what better time of the year to watch it?
Not really.
Right now,
best time now.
The marvelous documentary from 2014, Jingle Bell Rocks, number 23 on my list.
Okay. Number 22 on my list. Do you remember how I said keep an eye out for the name Ian Chaney? Here it comes again. Because we love his stuff. My number 22 is his documentary, The Search for General Show. The Search for General Show is what it sounds like it is. It is from 2014. It is about...
Actually, 15. It came out in January of 2015 to theaters.
Okay.
We saw it in 2014 when it was at film festivals.
We saw that in Somerville, didn't we?
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it at IFFB, and I've watched it like 10 times on cable since then.
Yeah. The Search for General Show is what it sounds like it is. It is talking about Chinese food. And if you think I'm going to make all the jokes about you watch it once and then, 4 hours later you want to watch it again.
They'll get you in the movie with that. They'll hit you with the movie with
I'm not going to do it. So, too bad. Now, I don't particularly enjoy a lot of Chinese food. Simply because my system is very picky about what I eat, and there are, I don't...
You like crab rangoon.
Yes, I do.
You like wontons.
I do.
You like the chicken fingers, depending on where we get them. Mm-hmm. And you can eat barbecued spare ribs if they're boneless.
I should be a little bit more specific. I can't eat hot Chinese food.
Eat hot food anyway.
Spicy Chinese food.
Spicy at all,
I have eaten General Show and went, okay, that was a mistake.
The General Shows that's at the Cathay Pacific, which is the Chinese food right across from where we work, is actually very good, and it's not hot at all. It has a very sweet, slightly tangy taste.
Because I tried it and I was like, oh, this is really good. Ow, 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 mouth is on fire now. But the Search for General Show is looking at Chinese food in America. Which, trust me, people in China will not identify as Chinese food.
They will not.
They might not even identify it as food because, it's mostly just a lot of chemicals on a plate,
Mm-hmm. But
it is a really funny film, and it will make you hungry. Eat before you watch this film because you will want to eat afterwards. Anything. It doesn't even matter if you want to eat Chinese food. You're going to go grab something. Don't go see this at a theater without eating first because you'll raid the concession stand. It is so funny. It does look at the real General Show. There really was a General Show, who is considered a hero of the Chinese people. Mm-hmm. And this film also looks at the immigration of the Chinese to America.
And how crappy we treated them.
And how shamefully we treated them because, land of the free, home of the brave, unless you look different from us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stick that in your Republican pipe. And anyway, it's funny in some places, it's very sad in other places. And it's fascinating why, now if you think about collecting, a lot of people collect a lot of different things. You have people collecting baseball cards, you have people collecting dolls, you have people collecting, this, that, and the other thing. Mm-hmm. If somebody had told me there was going to be a person out there devoted, and I mean devoted, to collecting Chinese restaurant menus, mm-hmm. I would have told you
closet full of them.
I would have told you were high. The Search for General Show proved me wrong. My number 22, funny, interesting, and hunger-inducing, The Search for General Show.
And Ian Chaney is a director that we both adore. He's originally from Massachusetts. He also did a number of other things we liked. The only one he missed with me was Blue Space. I didn't like that one, but the rest of them he's ever done were all terrific.
And he's a super nice guy.
Yeah. Number 22. Okay. You want to put up your blast shield, you can. You don't have to listen to this one.
Okay.
I adored this film. Kim absolutely hated it. I found something magical in seeing this film, and I still don't know what it was. I've watched it a couple of times since the DVD came out. I have the Blu-ray. It's amazing. And I don't know how to really describe it because it's so... Everything that's in the film, each segment is so different, and yet it's all the same thing, but in different styles. And it's an amazing piece. There's some of it Cam didn't like it because it had things in it that are trigger warnings for her, and it was not easy to get through. But I still think it's great, although I will never ask her to sit through it again. My number 22 documentary is Wim Wenders' incredible dance documentary, Pina.
You're right. Kim's not going to watch it again.
It celebrates Pina Bausch, who died unexpectedly during production. She was diagnosed with a really fast-moving form of cancer. And he had originally canceled the production, but the loyal members and the dancers of her Tanz Theater Wuppertal convinced him to finish the film, and what he came out with was a masterpiece of modern dance. This was the first dance film I've ever seen in 3D, for one thing, which was really crazy. And it is directed into 4 different pieces. The first piece, Le Sacre du Printemps, which is the Rite of Spring, Café Mueller, Contact Off, and Volmond. These are 2, and in between there's little interstitial dances. It's amazing. I mean, I know Kim doesn't like it, and if you're not into modern dance, it might bore you.
That's not why Kim doesn't like it.
No, Kim doesn't like it because there are triggers in it for Kim that make her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If you have a fear of dirt, or if you don't like being touched, or you don't like being in like really close quarters, and you don't like repetition or whatever, this movie will drive you insane. But I loved it from beginning to end. I was totally mesmerized, and I think more people should see it. I think it's available on either Netflix or Amazon. If you haven't seen it, try watching it because I thought it was brilliant, and I still do. Number 22, 2011's marvelous dance documentary, Pina.
Okay. Number 21 on my list is a film that... it's funny how you bring all that up. This film I enjoyed watching because it was a fascinating film, although it did irritate me in a couple of places.
Oh.
And there were more than a few places where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm really not comfortable right now. This film came out in its home country in 2009. It came out here in 2010. Last Train Home.
Oh, yeah.
Last Train Home is a documentary looking at China and looking at what happens in China in the springtime. In spring, China's, the people that live in the cities in China all leave en masse to go back to their home villages. They leave the cities and go to the rural villages to celebrate the New Year's holiday. This enormous group of people is actually the largest migration of human beings on the planet.
Certified by Guinness, by the way.
Yes, because we're talking about 130 million people.
Yeah, that's insane.
Leaving the cities all at once so they could be with their families to celebrate. Okay.
I have to say this before you go forward.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a problem with some of Amtrak's trains, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Mm-hmm. If you've ever been in an elevator where you've just been like, oh, there are too many people in this elevator, this movie is your worst frickin' nightmare. Straight up.
Particularly on the train platform.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were parts of this movie where I was like, okay, we got to shut this off.
She was crawling out of her skin. Yeah, we watched the screener of this, and she was crawling out of her skin.
I was like, we got to shut this off. We got to shut this off, please. Now, you're talking about somebody who sits there unblinking during, like, an alien autopsy or something like that. But this, oh, no. No.
It's a trigger for some people. And I know several people that would find this film incredibly uncomfortable.
Well, there's also moments in this film that I was just sitting there fuming because let's be perfectly honest, China, amazing country though it is, and beautiful people and great people and everything like that, their views toward women, especially in more rural areas, are not as metropolitan as America. So there were several places during this film where I was sitting there and this was happening.
She was doing her Cetus Sings the Blues routine. Oh, no, they didn't.
Yeah, there was a couple of points I'm just like, okay, stop it again. And he's like, why? I'm listening because I have to go throw something, and you have to tell yourself we are not one world. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and you have to deal with it. But damn it, if it doesn't make you mad as hell sometimes. My number 21, Last Train Home.
My number 21 and the last documentary for this episode is the first film we've crossed over on.
Oh.
And she was right. It is higher on my list. It is the wonderful movie from director April Wright, 2013's Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American drive-in movie. This movie is brilliant. We've had the good fortune to interact with April several times over the course of this, both this and the recent release of her recent sequel, Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American movie Palace. She is a brilliant director, obviously completely steeped in film, and she's done a lot of other stuff too, but Going Attractions showed me stuff I'd never seen, like these original drive-ins that were like cycloramas where each car had its own screen.
Yeah.
And places where hotels were built where you could sit in your living room in the hotel room and watch the screen. I'd never seen any of this stuff. I grew up in the drive-in theater. My mom and her boyfriend at the time went to the drive-in all the time. It's where I saw most of my big Disney films of my childhood. I saw Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the drive-in. I saw a lot of horror I shouldn't have been seeing because Mom and Frank were both horror fans. And we frequented the same ones in Ohio and Washington. So drive-in is part of my childhood. And this movie was brilliant, and it is available on Amazon Prime. If you've not seen it, definitely check it out. She will make you, for those of you who have been to the drive-in and remember it fondly, she will make you remember that. She actually sponsored our drive-in summer a couple of years ago, which was fun. And if you've got kids that don't know what a drive-in is, history lesson. Number 21 on my documentaries list for the 2010s, the marvelous Going Attractions, the definitive story of the American drive-in movie. We have 25 through 21 of our narratives for the 2010s coming up, and they'll be right up
when Subject Cinema returns.
Blockbuster or bomb, it's all good for us. This is Subject Cinema.
Want to be a part of Subject Cinema? Then email us. Your ideas, suggestions, and comments keep us going. SubjectCinema@PNRNetworks.com.
Want to listen to Subject Cinema on the go? Check out Stitcher. You can access all the latest episodes right from iPhone or Android. Check it out. Click on the Stitcher logo on our sidebar or go to Stitcher.com and search for your favorite PNR Network show. Get started today.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
We're here looking at documentaries and narratives on Subject Cinema's Best of the 2010s, and we're really glad you're with us, helping us count up these lists. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham. You make it sound like it's a front row 5 and 10. It's really not.
Well,
sort of the same thing. That'll be back soon.
And we'd actually love your lists. If our lists inspire you to make some lists of your own, definitely do and send them to us. We'll be more than happy to read them on the air.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear what your favorites of the 2010s are as well. Back to our narratives, number
Yep.
25 through 21.
Yep.
And my number 25 is the first of 7 films that finished as my best picture of the year. Only 2 of the films I named best picture did not make my top 30. And I haven't named this year's yet, obviously, so.
Okay.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. This one is close to my heart personally because I love the film. It made me a huge fan of its star, who promptly dropped off the face of the earth to finish college, and then came roaring back, and he's done mostly like horror films since then, which is stupid. But the film touched me because of the character. I was going through pretty much the same thing at the time this film came out, and I felt a deep connection with the character that was the lead of the film. And I still think it is a brilliant film, despite some of the critics not really caring for it. It ended up as my best picture of 2010. My number 25, it's kind of a funny story. The story of Craig, 16-year-old, who has suicidal thoughts because of the pressures in his teenage life. He commits himself to a 1-week stay at the local hospital's psychiatric floor, where he learns a lot about himself thanks to the other inmates he's with and the people he meets there and who also help take care of them. It is based on a book and features an outstanding cast, including the underrated and underused Keira Gilchrist as Craig, Emma Roberts as Noelle, Zach Galifianakis in the only role I've ever liked him in as Bobby, Viola Davis as Dr. Minerva, plus Zoe Kravitz, Thomas Mann, who this is where we first saw him as Craig's best friend Aaron, and a few other people that you might recognize, most notably probably Jeremy Davies, who plays Smitty, one of the people who help run the place. It deals with depression in a way that makes it accessible to everybody and makes you understand what they're going through. I was bawling my eyes out at the end of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I bawl my eyes out at the end of this film every time I watch it. It has one of the best soundtracks in the planet, one of the best lip sync videos of Under Pressure you will ever see, and is truly one of the most underrated films of the decade. I really wish people would give it a bigger chance to get into their hearts, because it deserves far more than it actually got from the critics. My number 25 best narrative of the decade. It's kind of a funny story from 2010.
Okay. Number 25 on my list is a film that, it was one of those films that we kind of walked into it going, I'm not sure what brought us to this film, besides the fact that it just looked interesting. The look of the film really kind of sucked us in, the look of the trailer. And then we saw the film and it was like, wow. My number 25 from 2011, Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive. Wow. Drive is I would actually call it a neo-noir film.
Yeah, it is. It's a neo-noir.
It tells the story of Driver, because we never actually know his name, updated version of Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name. But instead of riding on a horse, he has a really slick car. He hires himself out as a getaway driver for criminals because he's really good at what he does when he's not actually, doing work as a stunt driver for films. The cast includes Ryan Gosling, who is absolutely hypnotic in this movie. You cannot take your eyes off him when he is on screen. Also including in the cast, Bryan Cranston, Oscar Isaac, Ron Perlman. It's just one of these incredible films. Carey Mulligan. Albert Brooks, yes. It is intense. It is violent. It is ambiguous in a couple of places, especially the ending. And that occasionally can drive you nuts. But it doesn't with this film. The soundtrack is amazing. Everything about this film, especially the parts where you want to look away and you can't because it's just so compelling to keep looking, even though it's also so like, I am going to need to just, have long hug sessions because I keep hearing the sound of someone's head being crunched under someone's foot. Yep. It's absolutely crazy. My number 25, Drive.
My number 24 is a little film that made me so angry that it never got a decent release in this country that I still am furious. It is still virtually impossible to find. It was on the film festival circuit in 2010. It came out finally in 6 theaters in 2011 for 1 week, and then it disappeared. Considering the reception of the audience we saw it with, who were doubled over for most of this movie in utter hysterics, I do not understand the lack of release it got in America. I still don't understand it. My number 24, 2011, brilliant, absolutely hysterical, based on a true story, Irish comedy, The Runway. I laughed myself sick at this movie. So did Kim. So did everybody in the sold-out audience at the Irish Film Festival. And I'm like, how do you not get this movie? This is like the Strong Enough to Break of the film industry. Mm-hmm. Strong Enough to Break is the Hanson movie that talks about their troubles with IDG. What the hell happened with the distributors of this movie going like, I don't know how to market it? What? It's the true story of, I don't even know how to describe this. A plane crashes in a small, tiny rural village, piloted by a man who only speaks Spanish. A 10-year-old kid, desperate for a father figure, and who is partly Spanish, his father's been gone from his life since he was a small boy, befriends this guy when he finds them, and pretends to be his interpreter. What Paco is telling the town he's saying, and what Ernesto is actually telling the town, are two completely different things. It is so funny, and it gets crazy and exciting. The music is great. Great star-making turn from Jamie Kiernan, who's gone on to do some other stuff in Ireland. And Demian Bashir in the first role I ever saw him in. Mm-hmm. Funny as hell. Also starring Kerry Condon and James Cosmo, along with a lot of Irish actors and well-known people in the UK. I don't know what possessed. Six Sales handled it. No, that's Spanish. It doesn't tell me who handled it in America. I don't know what they were thinking. But it never actually got a wide release in the world either. It only made, in U.S. dollars, $187,000 at the theater. I don't
get that.
On a budget of $4 million. According to this, it's available on streaming services, but I can't find it. If you've never seen it, seek it out. You will fall on your fanny laughing. It's so deliciously funny because of the miscommunications. And Jamie and Demian have amazing chemistry. Considering they're not speaking the same language most of the time, it is really something. 2011's brilliant Irish comedy, The Runway, number 24 on my list.
Okay. Number 24 on my list is the thing about this film is that there were two choices that the film that is on my list and the film that didn't make my list are actually both by the same director and are basically both looking at the same kind of thing, but one is from a male point of view and one is from a female point of view. And I actually wound up taking the female point of view because I thought the other film is amazing. Unfortunately not on my list, but it is amazing. But this one is. My number 24, Black Swan, from Darren Aronofsky. The other film I'm talking about is The Wrestler.
Also from Darren
Aronofsky. Also frigging brilliant. Now, I know some people are going, how in the hell are those two films alike, Kim? One of them's about a pro wrestler, one of them's about a professional ballerina.
The mindset.
They are. They're about people who are in love with their jobs, even if their jobs are killing them. In the case of Nina, played so amazingly by Natalie Portman
Best Actress Oscar winner
in Black Swan, which came out in 2010. It's not a physical death; it's a mental death. Nina is a very talented dancer. Unfortunately, she is just not quite there when it comes to being able to handle the duality of the role of the good white swan and the evil black swan in Tchaikovsky's ballet Swan Lake, which she's up for. Nina's mother is a nightmare. She is the Black Hawk version of a helicopter parent. Seriously. Look it up.
Yeah.
And Nina's psyche wasn't all that, well put together before this film. Once the ball gets rolling and she winds up having a rival in Lily, played absolutely brilliantly by Mila Kunis, it starts unraveling faster than a cat with a ball of yarn. This film is beautiful. It is terrifying. It is a film that is going to make you sit there and go, what the hell did I just see? And was any of that real? And you know what? Who cares?
Yeah.
It was really, really something amazing. There's still parts of that film that I'm like, did that really happen?
Yeah, me too.
My number 24, Black Swan.
My number 23, you've already mentioned, and I don't even need to go into it because you covered it pretty succinctly. My 2011 Best Picture of the Year, 2011's wonderful neo-noir mind trip from Nicholas Winding Refn, Drive, starring Ryan Gosling. Love that film. The look, the feel, the music, the sound, everything about it, perfect. Mm-hmm. Just perfect. I loved it, and it's just absolutely fabulous. And since you've already talked about it, and you said pretty much all the points, and we got all the cast out there, let's move on.
Okay, number 23 on my list is from 2013, and is actually not the kind of a film that a lot of people would think would be on my list. My number 23 is Her. Directed by Spike Jonze. Her is set in a Los Angeles that might be next week, might be 50 years from now,
yeah.
Who knows. There's no flying cars or anything like that, or matter transporters, or lightsabers, damn the luck, but there are very, very, very advanced, what are they called?
OS.
Operating system. I knew I was going to mess that up.
AI operating systems.
Yes. And that is what is purchased by a lonely man named Theodore Twombly in a performance that completely cemented Joaquin Phoenix as one of the best actors of this last century. Mm-hmm. And I thought he couldn't do any better, and then, hello, Joker comes along and blows that theory out of the water. Anyway.
And he had a couple of riveting performances in films we didn't see, too, like The Master and the other ones.
Theodore winds up buying this OS and winds up, I don't know how to say it other than it is, falling in love with Samantha, his OS, voiced by Scarlett Johansson, which makes perfect sense because I would fall in love with Scarlett Johansson too, and have
voice.
Hashtag girl crush.
Voice.
Voice.
Just a voice.
Just her voice. We never see.
And she was not actually the original voice they used.
No.
She did it later.
Her can be killingly funny, crushingly sad, and every emotion in between. There are a couple of scenes where I was like, I don't know whether I should laugh or throw up. Specifically the scene where Theodore is having an intimate relationship with another lady on the computer system where a cat gets involved, and I don't even want to go into the rest of that because the cat is not alive, and it's not. None of it's really happening. It's computer set, I guess. I don't know how else to word it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing film. Besides Joaquin, who just blew my socks off, the cast also includes Amy Adams.
And one of the best roles of her career. Yeah.
Rooney Mara, Olivia Wilde. It's just beautiful film. And also Chris Pratt. So it's amazing the number of people that went on to do superhero stuff from this film. It's hilarious.
Chris Pratt's in this movie? Then I have to hate it then.
No, you don't. Shut up.
No, I know. I don't hate him. I just hate that character.
You just hate Star-Lord for some completely,
Star-Lord.
I don't get it reason. So number 23 on my list from 2013, Her.
Number 22 on my list is one of my favorite movies of the decade. It came out in January 2013 to Sundance and eventually made its way into all over the country in smaller theaters. It had previously been competing for the Palme d'Or in the Cannes Film Festival the previous year. Again, this was a film that cemented the lead performance, and it also helped us to discover one of our favorite young actors of this decade. 2012's Mud. The story of a couple of teenagers, 14-year-old boys in Arkansas, Ellis and Neckbone, who have found a boat stuck high on a tree in a small island in the Mississippi River, and when they go to claim it, they find somebody's living there, a man who calls himself Mud, who claims to have grown up nearby. Obviously, they both realize that he's a fugitive, but it's an interesting relationship they develop. And this film is just brilliant in every way, shape, or form. With Matthew McConaughey in the title role, Reese Witherspoon as his one-time love, Juniper, introducing, at least to us, two marvelous young actors, Ty Sheridan as Ellis and Jacob Laughlin as Neckbone, plus Sam Shepard, Ray McKinnon, Sarah Paulson, Michael Shannon, who's always good, and the inimitable Joe Don Baker. Mm-hmm. This film, if you've not seen it, really riveting. The score is amazing. It has this amazing score written by David Wingo. I've listened to this thing so much over the last 10 years that it's just fantastic. And the visuals shot by Adam Stone on the Mississippi River are breathtaking. Just breathtaking. 2010's 22nd favorite narrative of TC's list, 2013's Mud.
Okay. Number 22 on my list is actually the first foray of many into superhero movies. Suck it, movie subs. But it's actually, I don't know if you'd entirely call him. No, actually, we can't call him a hero because he does good things. He doesn't do them entirely all for the right reasons. And he's not exactly a poster child for mental stability. I mean, granted, neither am I. But my number 22 is from 2018, Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2, The Further Adventures of Wade Wilson, a.k.a. Deadpool, a.k.a. the Merc with the Mouth, a.k.a. the person that takes as much C4 as humanly possible and snuggles it right up to the fourth wall and then hits the fuse. This film, I liked this more than the original Deadpool, which I really loved. It's funny, it's absurd in some places. There is a blink and you'll miss it cameo that is hilariously funny because you sit there for the rest of the movie going, did I really see that?
It's Brad Pitt, folks.
Hey, you could at least say spoiler alert.
Why? You still have to look for him. It's hard to find.
And I have to be perfectly honest. The end of this movie had me sitting there crying because I thought it was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Because the end of the movie is, at the end of it all, it's a love story.
Yep.
With the incredible, inimitable, I can't think of another adjective because he's just that awesome, Ryan Reynolds, Josh Brolin, Morena Baccarin, Julian Dennison, Zazie Beetz, who is one of the new girl crushes I have, It's just nuts. And it's also got some very, very deep messages if you look for them. And when you find them, you are going to sit back and go, wow, I didn't think I'd find that in a superhero movie.
Especially in a Deadpool movie.
Especially in a Deadpool movie. My number 22, Deadpool 2.
Okay, that one took me by surprise. My number 21 and my final film for this episode, I don't know what it was that made us go see this, because normally we don't go to films like this. We don't do comedies straight out unless we know there's somebody really good is in it, or we know or are familiar with the director, Billy Wilder, like in the old days and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was the topic of this movie. And I passed it to Kim, and she's like, "You're kidding." No. I didn't know such a thing existed. I didn't either. Well, let's go check it out. It ended up being not only one of my favorite films of that year, it's one of my favorite films of the decade. It is the first of 6 foreign language films on my top 30 for the year, for the decade. It is the marvelously funny romantic comedy Populaire from France. 2012, it came out over there. 2013 here. It is about the International Speed Typing Contest. Yes, I said speed typing contest.
On a typewriter.
Yes.
Ask your parents.
Rose Pamphile, played by Deborah Francois, is trained by her new boss, Louis Accard, played by the legendary French superstar Romain Duras, to become the fastest typist in the world, so she can win the 1959 speed typing contest in New York City. When she starts with him, she can barely type, and she peck types.
So she types like me.
Yeah.
Hey!
Well, you do. You're getting better.
You didn't have to agree that quickly.
I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to be insulting.
Pout now.
Believe me, you won't. You have to see this to get it.
Yeah.
It's so brilliant. It's romantic. It's funny. It is hilariously funny. Has one of the best pop soundtracks of, the last 20 years.
It also has Jean Dujardin, which is another reason I went to see it.
It does? No. It has his wife.
Oh.
Berenice Bejo.
I'm sorry.
Who played his wife in The Artist.
Oh. Sorry.
And Sean Benson as her husband.
That was the tie-in. I'm sorry.
Yes. It has a great supporting cast. Most of it, if you're not familiar with French movies, you won't know. But it's brilliant. Don't watch the dubbed version. They show it dubbed on Amazon as well as or Netflix as well as the French one. Watch the French one.
And you want to have a real laugh? Watch it. If you want to have a real laugh, watch it with a woman.
Whatever you say, pumpkin.
Uh-huh. If you're a guy and you want to have a real laugh and not get any that night, watch it with a woman, because you won't be getting any that night.
It is hilarious. And yeah, he's very condescending, but it's the time. You have to look at the time it's set. I don't think French men are nearly that bad today.
Probably not.
Number 21 on my list, the brilliant French comedy Populaire from 2013.
Okay. Number 21 on my list is a film that they keep threatening to make an American version of. Well, at least I think I've heard that at least once. Please don't. Please don't don't do this. Another film we saw at a film festival, and it just
maybe I don't know.
Blew my. I think we saw this at a film festival. Okay. Blew my mind when we saw it. Absolutely amazing film. I knew some of the people in it. I definitely know some of the people in it now, and so does everybody else. From 2011, directed by Joe Cornish, a British sci-fi comedy, with comedy in quotes, called Attack the Block.
No, we didn't see that at a film festival. It was in general release.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Attack the Block tells the story of what happens on in a block apartment, which is a lower income apartment in England. And it's it starts as a crime drama, really, with a young nurse named Samantha. Well, she's actually a trainee nurse.
Yeah.
Who is coming home to her place on Guy Fawkes Night, which is a holiday in Britain. She winds up being mugged by a group of teenagers. Thankfully, they don't hurt her. They just more scare her than that. They're not exactly the gang that can't shoot straight, but they're close. These are kids that they're rough. They're they're not choir boys or anything like that, but they're not bad kids really. Mm-hmm. The problem is that their part of London winds up being ground zero for an alien invasion. Mm-hmm. And now when I say alien invasion, it starts with one alien who is promptly killed. As it turns out, though, there are other aliens following that alien. And when I say aliens from outer space, I'm not talking about Michael Rene in a silvery suit, Klaatu Bara Nikto kind of thing. Oh no. We're talking about these gorilla wolf hybrid glow-in-the-dark teeth, things. Why is it something we don't understand the name of? We always have to refer to it as a thing. Shut up, Bones. These are not friendly. They are not here to talk. They are not here to negotiate. These things are alien invaders, and they will kill anything they get their hands on. As it turns out, they are exceedingly violent animals. They're not. They're basically just animals. They're not any kind of society or anything from what we can tell. Mm-hmm. And as it turns out, the being they were chasing is a female of their species. Mm-hmm. Y'all can figure out the rest of it.
Yeah.
And the female is dead now. They ain't happy.
No.
And it's up to Moses and the rest of his gang. And also, they wind up dragging in Samantha, a drug dealer named Ron, Ron's client, a stoner named Brewis, and trying to survive the night while also trying to outrun a murderous drug dealer. This film is brilliant. Starring John Boyega, Jodie Whittaker, Alex Esmail, one of our rising stars.
Yeah. So was John that
year. Yep. Yeah. Nick Frost, Luke Treadaway. It is so damn good.
The other name you might have heard from that movie is Franz Drama. He was on... what's the name of that? Heroes of Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. He was the new Firestorm.
Yeah.
And that
we started on The Flash with that,
but not with that character, though.
Yeah.
He was joined...
Oh, yeah.
What's that called? It's not Heroes of Tomorrow. We haven't watched it for ages.
No, it is called Heroes of Tomorrow,
okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this movie is funny, it's scary, it's exciting, it's just
the two little kids that want to be part of the gang are so freaking hilarious. They steal the entire film.
They do. It is frigging hilarious and scary as hell in certain places. There have been talk of I think there's been talk of doing this as an American, transplanting it to America.
It actually has been optioned, but never done anything about it.
Don't.
It was supposed to be set in Atlanta, I believe.
Yeah, don't.
There has also been talk between Joe Cornish and John Boyega about a sequel because he doesn't think Moses' story is over.
Oh, I would be there in a second.
I would too. It was so funny.
I would be there in a second. I would be there in less than a second if you make sure that one other person is definitely in the sequel, and that would be Alex Esmail.
Oh, Alex had the most lines in the entire film.
Yeah.
As Pest.
Alex Esmail's turn as Pest. He is hysterical. It is just a great bare-knuckle science fiction film.
Of course, John became known for this little thing called Star Wars.
Yeah,
later on.
and then Jodie did this whole other...
somebody called the dentist, the
something like
chiropractor.
That, the gynecologist, something like that, yeah. And now all the Doctor Who fans want to shoot us. Yay! No, we're just... teasing! We kid.
I now have to admit she blonded her hair after this film. I had not seen her with blonde hair until Doctor Who.
We kid all you Gallifreyan groupies. We know she's the Doctor. but just absolutely friggin' brilliant
Yeah.
movie. My number 21, Attack the Block.
Okay, tomorrow, or not tomorrow, later this week, you'll be hearing our 2 other parts where we'll do 20 through 11 and then 10 through 1 of our favorite top movies of the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ones on your list have surprised me so far.
Some of the ones on your list have surprised me too. So, because we have not shown each other these lists.
No, of course,
so.
and I didn't think we'd match nearly as much on this kind of list as we do. Although I do think we'll match when we get into the top 10. There's going to be 2 or 3 that we're going to be similar on. I really think that this decade has been. People are like, "Oh, this movie sucks. This year sucks. This year sucks," and yet there's been 2 or 3 years where the movies were so damn good we had trouble with Poppies and Rosies that year.
Can I say something about that? Every year you get, this is the worst year in movies ever, blah, blah, blah. These are the same kind of nitwits.
A lot of them are critics, by the way.
These are the same kind of nitwits that every year, New England's going to get the worst winter ever. Yeah. Run, panic, screw you.
I think my biggest change over anything over the last decade to this decade is the fact that I've fallen so hard for oddball documentaries and foreign films. I really have fallen in love with some foreign. I have 6 foreign language films on my list, and Populaire is just the first one. So it's like there's going to be some interesting stuff there, and I'm sure you're going to have some interesting stuff too.
Oh yeah.
But right now we're going to get out of here. Join us again for part 2 of this special series. It'll be coming up in just a couple of days, and then part 3 a couple of days after that, and then join us for all of our year-end stuff the week of between Christmas and New Year's, and we're going to have a blast. Until part 2 for Subject Cinema's Best of the 2010s, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
And don't forget to join our Patreon circle.
Bye now.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.